Welcome to another episode on the Transformative Sales Podcast with me, Rich Wellington from richwellington.com, and I'm joined by Mr. Mitchell. Say hello, Simon.
Hello, Simon.
Hello, Simon. So we're gonna be talking about Simon, what he does, what he's been up to, you know, what makes him tick. We're going to go down a few different paths, and as always, we'll have the quick fire round as well. We're going to ask Simon a bunch of questions, and we'll see how fast he can answer without destroying the universe in the process.
That's right.
So, Simon, you have to excuse my little cough. I've got a little bit of cough, and if I sound a little bit bunged up, that's because I am. Hopefully, you can all bear with me, and you can hear me as well through my Yorkshire accent and the cold. But Simon, just I'd love you to introduce yourself. Obviously, I know a ton about you, but potentially our listeners don't have a fucking clue who you are. So, who are you, dude? Like, you know, where you're from, what are you doing? Fill their ears with goodness.
Sure, no problem. My name's Simon Mitchell. I run a company called I Am Paradise Fitness. You can check that out, iamparadisefitness.com. Small plug there. Basically, what I do is I'm a body transformation coach, and I'm 100% online when I do that. And I guess like where I've kind of come from and my sort of backstory is that I wasn't always a personal trainer in a gym and then transitioned to doing something online. Basically, I was in a corporate environment, climbing the corporate ladder, and then decided to make a bit of a switch out of that and to do something that was truly my passion, that I've always had an interest in. And that kind of was the birth of I Am Paradise Fitness, what I do. So over the last 2 to 3 years, I've been building that business online. I would say kind of like maybe in the last 12, 14 months, I've actually taken it seriously to the point where I wanted to make that a career. And then over the course of the last 12 months, then that's really expanded and grown for me over the course of that period of time. And it's been like really exciting to the point where, you know, now I've got a sustainable level of clients, and, you know, I pay a lot of attention to what my social media does, and how I actually come across as a brand, and how I try to separate myself away from other trainers, how they do things, and other online coaches and how they do things. And I think like a lot of my background in the corporate environment has helped me do that, helped me to understand business more, and then put that with my own spin on it in a fitness kind of way. So I'm a body transformation coach, helping people lose weight, drop body fat, build muscle, all of that sort of good stuff. But I kind of like to think I do it in my own unique way.
Yeah, 100%. I would 100% agree with that. And it's, you know, I can relate with, you know, it was JLR where Simon worked. So it was, you know, Jaguar Land Rover, you know, on the corporate side of things. And, you know, I did a short time, you know, selling cars and vans and such. And I know the kind of environment and what that does, you know, to an individual and to a group of people, you know, when you're working together. It's quite a unique, you know, quite a unique environment, because you're very heavily targeted, or at least I was, you know, in the environment I was in. It's very different when you then transition, you know, to doing stuff for yourself. And, you know, Simon and I, you know, we've known each other for a short while now, and we've created a friendship as well, which is, you know, it's interesting in its own right. But you know, I know you were talking before about, you know, some of the upsides and the downsides of, you know, leaving that corporate environment and then coming to work for yourself. But I'll let you share a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. So I think I used to work for Jaguar Land Rover. That was the where I kind of started. I mean, like way back before then, kind of like I was working in call centers for Vodafone and stuff like that when I left university. I thought I had a real kind of thing in my head. I was in a band at the time, long hair and playing heavy metal and things like that. So I had a real ambition to be some sort of manager of HMV. That was the big thing. That was the dream. So my little short stint in a call center for Vodafone was just a stopgap, but the stopgap turned into a career, and the career went up from there. So, and then I kind of transitioned to working for JLR. So my job wasn't really in a car dealership. It was in the HQ. So I was responsible in the marketing, sales and service department for lots of various different things. But it was that grounding in a company where you're knee deep in how they do marketing, how they do sales, and how they deliver customer service. So for example, JLR gone through a period of incredible financial difficulty, and then with reinvigoration of new products and new ways of doing things and new ways of branding themselves and marketing themselves, they kind of pulled themselves out of there and became really, really successful. So that journey of the company is a real lesson learned of how to market yourself well and market a great product well. But also, you take the customer service side of things. So you're dealing with people that are very well off, they can afford expensive cars, so they expect a certain level of service to go with that. So when I think about my transition from that job, is I'm taking knowledge of real clever marketing and then taking with that a high level of premium customer service and then applying that into a fitness environment. And I think that's helped me to accelerate because I have been in gyms, training myself, all that sort of stuff for a number of years. So kind of on the fitness side of things, knew what I was doing. Then going through the qualifications, further qualifications after your basic level 2 and level 3, trying to increase my knowledge and things like that. That was a relatively quick process to get that base level of knowledge and start to build on that, working with good coaches and things like that to basically just, try and extract from them a ton of useful information that I can apply into my own coaching. And then, so I found it a case of, a good grounding in business helped me to accelerate quickly. Whereas I think if I was doing it the other way around, I spent 15 years building up a career in the fitness industry and then trying to create my own business off the back of that, I would have found that more of a difficult transition, I think. Whereas the background in business, so that you understand how business works, how to operate a business, how to market yourself, how to deliver customer service, was an easier grounding to have. And then add the kind of the fitness side on top of that was kind of how I've managed to accelerate a bit quicker in terms of my growth. So, the really, like I said before, it's only really the last 12, 14 months that things have actually really started to grow quick, and where I've really put a concerted effort into trying to make this a full-time career. And there's a lot of, difficulties in doing that. So to give you an understanding, so obviously I was working a full-time job, and then I would be up at 5, gym at 6, out of there into the office for 8, work through to 5 or 6 o'clock at home. Then between 7 and 12 p.m., that's when I just work on my fitness business. And I did that probably for a year, 18 months. So just pretty much not getting much sleep and not doing much else but work. And then in May of 2018 is when I decided, well, I'd already handed my notice in by then, but that was the date I left, 25th of May. And so then it was kind of real, holy shit. Now there's no support network of salary behind me. Because I always used to make a joke with the people who used to work for me. It's if we didn't turn up for a week, cars would still sell, parts would still sell, the business wouldn't come crashing down. So of course no one ever actually does that, but theoretically you could. But it's very different scenario when you're on your own. Is then, okay, now if I just don't turn up for a week and just say, oh fuck it, I'm just not going to bother, then the wheels don't turn and things don't happen, and the wheels fall off quite quick. So having that kind of pressure all on you, this is everything within that business is now mine. So from making sure little things like tax returns and the financial side of things, looking after clients, creating programs, marketing, emails, you name it, it's all on your shoulder from day one. So, and I think that what I found is a lot of coaches have come to me and asked me for advice about how do I build social media, or how do I start transitioning online. And when you start talking to them about actually what happens behind the scenes, it's quite mind-blowing as to how much stuff you have to actually do to make an online business work. And so I think that's kind of an eye-opener for me, that I've learned, I guess, like the hard way, made a lot of mistakes, did a lot of things wrong along the way. But now I feel like I'm in a place where I know what I'm doing. It's all in a bit of a rhythm. It's a nice machine that just keeps working now. And by machine, I guess I mean processes rather than just like automations left, right, and center. But understanding how the business works and how to put the processes in place that make the whole thing run smoothly. And I think, that's kind of, I guess, how I've done it. And it was difficult. It was hard. Lots of blood, sweat, and tears, literally. But we're there now. So I guess for me now, that hard work, those mistakes give me a platform now to grow further from there. And I think that's it's a nice place to be, and it's a nice feeling to have, especially where I am now is doing something that I really, really love. And I don't mind putting in 12, 14, 15-hour days every day, because it just doesn't feel like work. Sitting here, coming on a podcast and just talking about I Am Paradise Fitness. Okay, technically it's work, but it's not, is it? Let's be honest. It beats freaking spreadsheets and PowerPoint presentations about stuff, to be honest, you don't really care about. And for me, it was like I was sat there in the office with the guys around me, and we were just like, as you do, like maybe probably like a Friday evening or something like that, just chatting shit and stuff like that. And he said to me, like, he used to kind of like tick off the weeks until retirement. So he's like, oh yeah, I've got X amount of years left.
This was someone that you worked with was doing that.
Yeah. So he'd just say, at the end of the week,
heartache.
At the end of the week, he'd go, another week done, only however many weeks left to retirement. And he was doing it in years. So he had like 5, 6, 7 years to go, but he was counting it in weeks. I was like, fucking hell. And then
nice depressing.
Dude. And then that's what dawned on me as I sat there and I thought, I fucking got 30 years before I actually. And I thought, and then that was like my freaking light bulb moment, is that I can't sit here and do spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations. And, we used to like ping backwards and forwards with, management about the color of a box on a slide. It's like, fuck me, I can't really sit and do this for 30 years. And that was where it's like, right, that was like the switch. Whereas kind of like, yes, I was working hard in the days or the hours after I'd worked, and not that 7 to 12 period, I was working hard, but I wasn't really focused to say, right, now I'm going to go and make this a full-time career. And I think that for me was the light bulb moment to say, I'm either going to be playing at it and doing this for 30 years as my core thing, or I can go all in on this and make that happen. And I think that was what I needed. I needed that sort of like freaking wake up call.
That's interesting. Because I think a lot of people fool themselves into believing that they're working hard. Mm-hmm. When they're not working hard. It feels tiring because the thing that you're doing is draining the life out of you. That's the trick. So when people come and talk to you now, and they're just like in disbelief of like how many hours you do and what time you get up and when you go to bed and stuff, and just like, oh my God, how do you manage to do that? It's like, well, because it's exciting. That's the difference. Yeah. There's a huge transition of like, it's like almost like the extreme opposite end of the scale of what you were doing before, sitting and smashing spreadsheets and being like anal about the color of a box, for the branding of JLR. And now, like you feel like you've got purpose and you've got meaning to the hours and the time that you spend with your own clients, with potential clients, with, creating content to put out to all those people and serve them. I know that's a big term that's used, amongst us in the coaching realm, serving people, but serving is, it starts at, the local shop over the counter. You just have to make a conscious decision of how you serve and where you actually serve, and does it serve you as well? Because that's the other part of the trick, right? Because what you were doing before, you were serving, but you weren't getting anything out of it.
Exactly.
You're just getting your bills paid.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, you were around these other, guys and girls that, that guy that was like counting his weeks, literally counting his life down. That's real. That's like, honestly, that like makes my stomach drop to the bottom of my body. Obviously he's not the only person in the world that's doing that. There'll be, millions of other people are doing exactly the same thing. But, for those that are, listening to this, I can't encourage you more than to just, if you're doing something right now that's really making you feel like that you have to count down until the next thing in life, you need to stop. Like Simon decided to do, was just like that aha moment. You need to act on that. Otherwise, what's the point in existing?
And it's like that decision to leave was probably, I'd say, one of the most difficult decisions I've made. Actually, probably it is definitely the most difficult decision I've made. And I agonized over it, timing wise, should I wait? Should I try and grow the business to the point where like the salaries were equal and then I just switch over and things like that. But then I kind of like realized that I was on a nice wage. I, didn't want for anything, roof over the head, nice car, holidays, all that sort of stuff that was there. But that's not what I wanted. I wasn't satisfied by money. I wasn't satisfied by holidays, cars and things like that. You could have paid me 10 grand more. I still wouldn't have been happy of doing that. So then I literally said to myself, right, how little of a wage can I live on? And then that was my goal for the business, to say, right, now, okay, if I strip back on this, and this, okay, I could live on this. And then that was for me, like, that's the target point. And even when you get to that point where the business is turning over that amount of money, to say, right, okay, I am where I said I wanted to be, then saying, right, okay, overnight, I'm going to take a 60% pay cut. Now, that's a big leap. And then I'm going to give the car away, going to give the nice pension away, all that sort of stuff to go this alone. And then you add on to the top of that. So that's your own pressure you put on yourself to say, well, can I actually exist? Can I put food on the table doing this? And it's not, you're not putting yourself in this super secure environment, because, clients can come and go whenever they please and things like that. So it's never like locked on, guaranteed. But then you start adding on top of that is, well, I've worked for 15 years to get to this point. That's a lot of my life that I've put into this. Do I really want to go backwards in terms of finances? And then you rationalize with yourself, well, yeah, it's not about that. But then you think like, well, what do the parents think? The parents just want you to do well and things like that. And they're like, luckily my parents are very, very supportive, and I just said, yeah, do whatever you want, as long as you're happy, do whatever you want. But then like your friends and things like that, they kind of think you're crazy. So people at work used to think like the fitness thing was just a hobby. It's like, oh yeah, how's the old fitness thing going? Oh yeah, got any clients? Yeah. And you get all that sort of stuff. And then it's like, actually, yeah, and I'm leaving. So quite a shock to them. And, those people that were very like, oh yeah, it's a hobby. Oh yeah, do that. And very negative about it. They're the ones then, go, oh yeah, well done. Yeah, go for it. And it's like, oh yeah, okay.
Of course.
Yeah. So
remembering just slight teaching point there. There's two modes that we exist in. We only ever exist in two modes as humans. Number one is we want to avoid looking bad. And number two, we always want to be looking good. That's it. So that, what Simon was just, say there, that fits exactly into that model. And I'm guessing, maybe some of you out there are maybe in this transitional period that Simon's talking about in detail now is, you maybe got the job and you maybe got the side hustle going, but you need to make that conscious decision of like when you're gonna jump ship. And we're going to talk about some of the advanced bits Simon's doing inside of his business now. I don't want to make it sound like you're a noob, a newbie at this by any means, because you're most certainly not from, all the people that I've met, in this entrepreneurial journey, throughout my life. You're very, and it's interesting you say about all the corporate things you've done, lending into the stuff that you do now, the high level customer service and, a high level brand experience. I think that does play very nicely into the fitness industry, because and I see this happen a ton of times, in fact, is, trainers that do their 8-week course and stuff, and they come and be personal trainers, and maybe they've not done anything, before that, younger guys and girls, or people that have been in education for a long period of time. And they jump into the fitness industry, and then they've got no concept of what a customer experience is, or, what the customer journey is supposed to look like, which then basically it degrades the health and fitness industry. It makes us come off as cheap. It makes us come off as people that shouldn't be paid, a lot of money, for what they do, unfortunately. Whereas I'm on the other end of the scale, like with Simon, if you give people that high level, high brand experience, then they naturally want to invest more money into what you do, because they're getting more of you, more experience in terms of, stuff that goes on in the background, as well as, it's nice, it's flashy sometimes. Simon's got a great podcast. He puts a lot of amazing content out. So it's exciting if you're a client and you've got someone that is classed as maybe an influencer in the industry to say, well, my trainer's Simon Mitchell. Because you get this all the time, right, Si? We talk, a few times a week now, and, people come to you and they say, wow, I can't believe you're actually talking to me. You're the guy with the podcast. You're the guy with the Instagram account and stuff. Mm-hmm. But that's nice. That's a nice thing, not just for you, for the ego boost, but it's also nice for the client, because that makes them feel like they're part of something special. And then when people feel like they're part of something special, they pay more respect to it. Hence why, people have more respect for, like, cars. If you use cars as an example, Jaguars, BMWs, things like that. People look after them better because they've put more money into it in the first place. So it's the same in the health and fitness industry, or if you're a coach, excuse me, is that if people are, investing more money, they're more likely to follow through with the stuff that they said they would do in the first place, right? So that's important when it comes to the experience and the pricing side of things. So anyway, sorry, I went off on a tangent there, but yeah, so that the whole brand experience thing it's vital. It's vital moving forwards as any form of coach, not just in the health and fitness industry. If you're not giving people that customer brand high level experience, then you're basically going to disappear into the background with all of the other, I hate to say it, like cookie cutter type programs and coaching that's out there. So that's great that you can bring that to the table, and that's, I'm so confident that that's going to play so well into our, I Am Paradise's, future, what it does.
Yeah, I think like you got, I think we've talked about before in the past is that, when it comes to, let's just say online coaching as an example, is that everyone's going to give nutrition advice. Everyone's going to give training advice, and probably everyone's going to do a little bit of mindset or something along those lines, accountability, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So you can't really differentiate yourself on what it is you do. The differentiator is how you do it and the level of service you provide and the way you make someone feel during that process. If you're trying to separate yourself because you create the best training program, or you create, the most accurate at calculating calories, it's not the differentiator. It doesn't create enough separation. So I think that on the provision of service is that, yes, you want to give the best, you could give the best possible training program to that particular client. You want to give the best nutrition advice to that client, but then you've got to say, well, how can I really personalize this for that and give them a personal touch, stuff that they're not expecting, How can I keep wowing that customer consistently, not just when they join, but consistently after that? I guess, maybe we touch on it a bit, like the marketing side of things, but that's how I view my clients, is that, a lot of people will just try and market to get new clients, but I think you've got to have a sense of marketing to your own existing clients, because it's a lot easier to keep them than it is to get new ones. Like in the JLR world, it's a lot easier to sell a car to an existing customer than it is to attract a new one. So I think that people often forget that it's, yes, you've got to put stuff out on social media, you've got to do all of that sort of good stuff, but you can't bring a client on board and you say, right, got them, give them a program, right, now, how do I get another one? You've got to, it's like not a war, it's a bad way of putting it, but you got to do that on two fronts. Okay, you've got to focus on bringing new people into your space, but you've also got to look after the ones that are already there. You can't, neglect one or the other. So that's
correct. Exactly. And we'll use the car thing again, and that's why I'm onto my second BMW. Right, it's because of the experience that I get at the dealerships. It's just outside the window here, and it's nice to go in and people know your name, right? They don't have to fucking remember your name, but they do, and they sit down with you. I actually went out last time, not the first time, the second time, same guy that sold to me the second time, and we went out and got a McDonald's. And he had me, he let me sit at his desk with him, and while we did all the contracts and things like that. So just little touches, and he made me an expensive coffee, which is obviously a nice thing as well. And first time I ended up buying like the BMW bag, that you saw, and the luggage thing that we take away, when we go flying and stuff like that. Just little things, it's just the little things. I'm like a super easy sell now. Like he knows in however many months' time, you can drop me a text and just be like, hey, I know your contract's coming up and maybe you should come and see us. And I'm like, oh yeah, hell, I'm up for a coffee and a McDonald's again. Absolutely. But yeah, exactly. But that's the difference between a place where you go in and maybe you get a hi from behind the desk to then somewhere where people know your name and they know how you like your coffee and that you'd really fancy a double cheeseburger. That's like a dream come true for any customer in my eyes. So absolutely cool. So I'd really love you to share, with me and with everyone else, like why I Am Paradise Fitness. Like why did you actually start in the first place? Like is there like stuff from you being younger that's played into you wanting to help others, achieve the body and the confidence and have nutritional knowledge? Like, you tell us.
Sure. So I guess like when I was real young, I used to be like the fat kid at school. So I was often like bullied for being a little bit podgy and stuff like that. So when I was maybe like 16, 17, my dad had in his garage, like a really old set of York barbell weights and stuff. Like, it was green and rust and spiders all over it and stuff like that. So it looked like it get some sort of like hepatitis from using them. But I kind of just went in the garage and just threw weights around. I didn't really know what I was doing. I used to just watch like Arnie freaking movies or Pumping Iron or something like that. I just go, yes, just do this, lots of this, Flex magazine, all of that sort of stuff. So I kind of did that for a couple of years. Then I got a job in a gym. So I was able to learn from other people that were already PTs. I wasn't a PT at that time, but I was just learning from being around PTs, what they were doing and how they were training, and some really, really good ones in the local area. So I got a bit of a taste for the whole thing, and then I kind of put on quite a bit of size. But my struggle was I could never like really lose body fat. I wanted the whole 6-pack thing, could never really do that. Probably like a lot of people, I spunked a lot of money up the wall on supplements and stuff like that. That never worked. And I kind of then really just like fell out of love with it because I felt like I just can't get anywhere with this thing. So when maybe like 28, something like that, someone asked me if I wanted to go on a charity bike ride from Rugby, where I live, to Paris. And I thought, yeah, how hard can that be? Turns out it's really hard. Then I got like bitten for the bug of cycling. So then I just threw myself hugely into cycling. Over the course of, say, a year and a half, I lost 20 kilos. So I went from like 92 kilos down to like 72 kilos, and like a bit of a racing snake. And then I just went, like, my personality is all out on one thing. That's all. So I used to be in a band. I was like all in on that. It was boom, doing that. Then I was like cycling,
long hair and all that shit.
Yeah. So I used to like practice guitar like, hours per day and all this sort of writing songs.
Yeah, you had the finger exercises and stuff, didn't you? I know your kind.
And so then I went all in on cycling, and I used to cycle up to like 20, 25 hours a week, and all that sort of stuff. So then I started to race time trials, and I raced national level time trial, and like it was 2014, I'm going to say. The end of that season, there's a British Championship for time trialing, and that was like my big goal. My big goal for the year was that event, 10 miles, and my goal was to do a certain time. I can't remember what the time was, but I think I ended up doing it in 19 minutes 54 seconds, which is like, my goal was to get over 30 miles an hour average. So that was achieved, done, ticking the box. So I was like, I placed in the top 100. But I wasn't like setting the world on fire in the top 10 or anything like that. But I thought I was the shit now. I was good at this. So I went out and did a training ride, and I just thought, I'm freaking invincible. I was on my time trial bike, and I was just like bombing down this road, ridiculous speed for the type of road it was. And then I just did a quick left-right turn, skidded, crashed. And then basically at the time, obviously I didn't realize it, but I basically broke a hip doing that. And I was like lying in the middle of the road going, all right, yeah, I've fallen over before, but this one hurts quite a bit. So there's me trying to get up, trying to get back on the bike, falling over again, because, clipping your leg into the pedals and then trying to make your leg move, because the bone was separated, the leg just didn't work. So it didn't flop down on the side again. I was 33 years old, just broken hip. I was like at the height of my fitness, and then it was like poof, a real kind of like low point, because then like I still am now, like full of metal work to keep all that together. There's like real like low moments for me after that, where I was like, oh, what the fuck am I going to do now? And I had to have help to go for a shit and put socks on and things like that. And it's like really, like a little bit degrading is not the word, but it's very, very demotivating. And it was at that point, like I got diagnosed with osteopenia, which is thinning of the bones. So it's like you got a normal bone, and then you've got osteoporosis, which is like brittle bones. In the middle, you've got osteopenia, which is thinning of the bones. So I had that in my spine and in my hip. So the doctor had said, basically, you should have, at your age, you should have hit that concrete and bounced straight back up. You shouldn't have broken anything, let alone broke a hip. So that's what led to tests and things like that. And they basically said, like you need to calcium, all that sort of stuff. But then he said, you need to go to work out in the gym to bring up bone strength. So I thought, right, okay, I've done this before. So I went back to working out in the gym. But this time I kind of decided to do things properly. I was going to do my own research into, okay, what works, what's good nutritionally, what's good from a training perspective. And then I went like my own personality, I went all in on that. So I started to learn qualifications, research stuff, go into detail in that. So I knew everything that I could possibly know about training and things like that. And that's where then I got like bitten by the bug again of that. Then about like 9 months later, I put pictures on my website and things like that of my transformation from stick thin cyclist about a month before my accident to 9 months after starting training. And there's a huge, huge difference. And I got people coming up to me in the gym saying, "Hey man, how the hell did you do that?" So they're like asking me lots of questions. I was just like being polite, just like saying, "Oh, yeah, let's just do this, and this nutrition."
What steroids have you taken? That's what they asked you. I bet you had loads of people asking you that, right?
I did. I put a transformation picture up once, and there's loads of comments on it, and then they just say, "Oh, it's impossible. Without steroids, it's impossible to make that transition." So I take that as a compliment because I've never have. So it's a nice compliment that you think that I have. So I kind of went through that whole process of just helping people from that point of view. And then I read this book, and it was called The Gorilla Mindset by a guy called Mike Cernovich. And I don't think it's that well known of a book, but in it, he talks about a lot of different things. And it's a lot about the mindset of the man. And from a primal point of view, and things like that. To be fair, right up until the end, it's still all applicable to a female as well. So if there are any female listeners, the last sort of chapter is very male orientated. But basically, one of the sentences that he says is that if people are asking you specifically answers to very specific questions, and you have the answers, there's people willing to pay for that information. And that was another light bulb for me to say, right, okay, so if that's the case, I've got all these dudes coming up to me in the gym asking for me for nutrition, training information, all this sort of stuff. So then I said to myself, I didn't even know online coaching was a thing at that point. So I said, well, could I make this a source of income? And at that point, I had no intention of leaving the corporate job. I just thought, it'd just be a nice thing to do. I'll just do this on the side. Maybe it'll, if I, make a couple of grand a year, that'll pay for a holiday and stuff like that. And I would just have a little bit of fun. So I started writing blogs, and I just basically came up with the name. I had a really shitty website. I was really shitty at copywriting at that point, and I was shit at everything. But I just kind of just put stuff out there, and people liked it amazingly. So then the ball started rolling on that, and I kind of then just thought, right, okay, well, how could I make a business out of this? And then that's when I still at that point didn't really understand how online coaching could work, but I kind of just talked to other people that were doing it at that time and learned from them. And then it was just like really sort of like Billy Basic stuff. I was just there I just put a post out on social media saying, look, I did everything for free, whatever you want. So I'll do the training program, we'll do nutrition, I'll coach you, we'll do once a week Skype calls, I do it all for free. Who wants it? So I had like 30 people, bang, straight away. And then I just managed those people. Lesson learned from managing people for free: take before pictures. Because
there's a lesson in here somewhere. So yeah, go for it.
I took 30 people on because I didn't really know what I was doing in terms of coaching at that point. So I coached them all. Some of them, because it was free, basically got dropped off after about a week because it's only free, don't need to bother. But the ones that did, did really well. And I was like, cool. Wouldn't it be great if I had like a transformation picture? And I was like, oh shit, didn't ask for it before, did I? So I trained all these people for free, basically for nothing, in terms of like brand building. And so that was a huge lesson learned. The other huge lesson learned was I wouldn't do much for free these days. I wouldn't recommend people do much for free. I think there's definitely things you can do for free to help people and to help build your brand, but I think there's a logical limit to what you do for free. And then from there, basically, it's like, okay, right, now I use that as a learning experience of how to actually manage someone online. And that started to then form, okay, how am I going to run a program? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do nutrition? How am I going to do coaching? And so all of those consistent mistakes over a period of time helped me to then say, right, okay, this is how it could properly work. And then I guess once all those moving pieces were in place, that was when, all the other things started to happen, like website, proper training program, developing apps, all that sort of stuff then comes off the back of that. So that was kind of where it came from.
Awesome. Great. And what's the most enjoyable part about running I Am Paradise Fitness now? What's the thing that what do I say all the time? What's the bit that gives you a semi on?
It might sound cheesy, but it's the satisfaction you get from receiving a message from someone to say that you helped them transform their life or whatever. And I've had that from clients, and I've had that from people who just follow my stuff in the background on social media. I've had 2 this week, which is literally just, tag me in a post they put on Instagram, or they literally just sent me their progress pictures and said, hey, I've just been listening to your podcast for the last 4 months and I've achieved this. Or I've been listening to you all year, I've done all this, and you absolutely transformed the way I think about myself. And that's just so cool to hear. And obviously with a client, I'm more in detail of how they're feeling and how they're progressing and all that sort of stuff. So I kind of know how they're feeling and progressing in a bit more detail. But to get it from like random strangers is like amazing. And it's a feeling you can't replicate with spreadsheets and PowerPoint presentations, talking about car parts. This is like, you can't recreate that feeling. And then the other aspect is I didn't know it at the time, but I just love the process of building a business. So to me, like, I've got the best of both worlds. So like my passion for like helping people and getting that sort of nice comments back, that's like a reward for me. But then I just love building businesses and things like that. So that's just like a real excitement for me. So making content, a lot of people think, oh, Jesus Christ, I've got to make another piece of content. Jesus. And that's like a week spent making some infographic, and it's like, it's hell to write an email or something like that. Whereas to me, I just love that shit. And so like the work part of it, what you have to do to build a business is just like, yeah, I could do this all fucking day long. So I'm getting like the best of both worlds, and that's what's cool about it. And I guess like the other thing is that when you have your own business and it starts to get successful, you can really say, I did that. That's me that's done that. And okay, you bring people in, you might have a team and you might have people supporting you. But in those early days when there was nothing, and now there's something, now that's like, I did that. And it's not like, so that's also nice. I like that.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. So there's the egotistical side that feeds us, that makes us feel good, like, hey, look what I've done. And then there's that side of knowing that you've got a business that serves other people in the fullest and wholest form. And then getting that feedback, again, there's some ego involved with that, but knowing that you're putting your energy out in the right way, in the right places, to be able to give those people what they need and what they want, or what they thought they wanted in the first place sometimes. And then for them to come back and say, hey, look what you've done for my life, that's great. So do you feel like I Am Paradise Fitness and how it's adapted and changed over the last, couple of years, do you feel like it's a force to be reckoned with, moving forwards and where it is now?
I think so. So I think like people talk about, especially like fitness and PT world being oversaturated. I don't think that's the case. I think it's oversaturated if you're not very good.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Taking the words right out of my mouth.
So it's a bit like I don't know if let's get this guy on a real tangent now. So if you've ever watched A Year and a Half in the Life of Metallica, which is a documentary that they made back in 91 or whatever, there's a scene when they're recording the Black Album where Kirk Hammett's trying to record a guitar solo, and it sounds shit, absolutely sound shit. And Bob Rock, the producer, when he's out of the room, says to every guitarist I've ever worked with before, when they haven't done their homework and haven't put the effort in, will always say, it's this sound, man. Sound's just not working for me. And then Kirk Hammett walks back in, does another solo, and it's shit again. And he says, it's the sound, man. It's just not working for me. And I think it's the same thing, is that, you know, when someone doesn't put the effort in and someone doesn't put the, you know, the time into, okay, how does social media work? How does marketing work? How does branding work? How does attracting a customer? How does email work? Doesn't put the time and effort into that? Yeah. Oh, it's oversaturated, man. It's oversaturated. Just can't get my message out.
It's such a fucking cop-out.
Yeah, it's an excuse.
Such an excuse. Such a shit way out of not doing the work.
Yeah. So I think that
and this is going to trigger people, by the way. So, this will trigger people because they'll find an excuse about the excuse now, if you're that type of person. Or this might give you, I'm hoping it does the opposite for any of those that are listening that haven't been putting the work in, to go, shit, yeah, well, what do I need to do? To make this thing right. And I do want to ask you, so I'm not trying to pause you on this bit, but just to remind us both, I do want to ask you about what it was that you watched, read, or listened to that then gave you the push to create this, what I've affectionately called the content machine that is Simon Mitchell, right? So sorry, go back to what you were saying before, dude.
Yeah, so rooting back to your question, which was, am I a force to be reckoned with? So I personally view that I feel that there is room for, everybody to have a successful fitness business, if that's what you want to do. There's 7 billion people in this world, and you don't need that many to make a successful business. So there's room for everybody. So I'm not saying this like I'm going to be better than someone else. Because if you want to put the work in, you can be as successful as the next guy. It doesn't really matter. So I think that I have a work ethic that means that I can be as successful as I want to be. And I take the time to understand what it is that I feel is going to separate me. And then I'm willing to put in the work to the point of, almost to the point of everything else suffers. And that sounds a little bit weird, but and it's going to make me sound like a real boring fucker as well. So I don't drink, and that's just out of choice. I'm not a recovering alcoholic. And I don't really socialize with friends. I don't really do much other than work and train. And that sounds boring. But to me, they're the two things that I love most, is working and working out. And I'm willing, because I see the bigger picture, I'm willing to do 14-hour, 15-hour days every day for the next 3-4 years. Because how I see it is, in 5 years' time, if I do that, the compounding effect of that over 5 years' time means that I'll be in a position where this business will be where I expect it to be, where I visualize it to be. And then that's the point where I can say, if I want to, I can take the reins off and, have a team, and I can take a step back and I can enjoy the fruits of the labor that I put in. Whereas I think that a lot of people want that before they put the work in. So they want to take the foot off the pedal and say, well, I want to be Tim Ferriss and do a 4-hour work week from day one. So I'm just going to sit back here and just, watch the floodgates open. Whereas actually, as nice as it would be to work a 4-hour work week from day one, you've got to put in some groundwork, in my view. So I believe it can be a force to be reckoned with, because I believe there's enough people in the world to be able to do it. And I'm always looking for, how can I deliver more value to my audience on a consistent basis, and how can I deliver that value that's different, in a different way, so that it stands out. So I'm not interested in, so again, like someone asked me this the other day, and said to them is that I don't really consume any content on social media. I observe content. So I look at what people are doing, how they are saying it, how are they using their Instagram story to sell something, to promote something, how is this person creating a post to offer some cool value to this particular person. So I'm not there sitting and scrolling through like freaking memes all the time and looking at cat videos of random accounts. I'm really just kind of observing and then saying, right, okay, and then observing my own content as well. So I'm not just mindlessly putting out content. So you want to put out content that offers value and delivers a lot of benefit to your audience, and then you have to sit there and watch what happens to that content. So, for example, there's a type of post that I put out regularly at the moment, which is there to generate a couple of things. A, it's to get people to comment on the post, but B, it's then their comments offer me the opportunity to engage with that person one-to-one and deliver them extra value. And then by doing that, I'm increasing the value of my brand. I'm increasing the awareness across social media, but I'm also delivering individuals a huge amount of value as well. And those types of posts will get 30 likes, which is not many, but they'll get like double or triple the amount of comments on there. And I think, again, maybe we get onto this later, but that's one of the things, is that it's not likes, it's not followers, it's about engagement with individuals. And if you can create engagement with individuals, then you start to be successful, I think. So from my perspective, yes, I want to grow my business and I want to keep accelerating the growth, but I want to do that in a way that stays true to how I believe things should be. So, for example, like we said it before, like the last 12 months is really where I put the effort in. Now, I'm quite hard on myself to say like, I want to be doing this. I want more. That's just my personality. But when I sit back and reflect, is that from scratch, from nothing, in 12 months, I've grown my business to the point where it pays the bills, roof over their head, protein shakes in my belly, and all that sort of good stuff. And I've done that with less than 2,000 followers. So you don't need a huge following. You just need to be doing the right things to be able to have that following, love what you do, love you, and then want to work with you. And I think, again, like, it's a trick that people, it's not a trick, but it's the piece of the process that people miss. It's like, how do I get followers? Or how do I get more likes? And just don't focus on likes and followers. It's probably the answer.
Exactly. So the two big things from what you're just saying, okay, and again I can resonate with this stuff, okay, for a couple of reasons. So the first point was that you're prepared to basically do the 15-16 hour days and not have the social life right now, and sacrifice some things in order to get where you want to be, anywhere between 5 to 10 times quicker than other people.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you can reap the rewards for a longer period of time whilst you're younger and you've got your health and all that sort of stuff on your side. Okay. Now this intense environment is very much like, I was in the military for a short period of time. And when you go through like basic training and trade training, the reason they get to accelerate you through those programs so quickly, and you learn how to go from being a civilian to being a serving soldier with a certain like skill set, is because they throw you in and you can't leave base, you can't do jack shit, right, for a certain amount of weeks. And it's like, you do this, this, and this, and that's it. And it's on cycle, right? So it's like, brainwashing, if that's what you want to call it, institutionalization. But you get to choose how you want to be, brainwashed, and what structure and organization you want to run through your own life, through your own mindset, right? That's why I got to be so good at that so quickly. And I'm very much the same. I throw myself in deep on things. I don't know if it's like a strong masculine trait We're just like, we're only very good at doing one thing at a time. I don't think multitasking actually exists. I think that was a thing a while back, but I've never been very good at doing more than one thing at a time. And I mean that in anything. But the one thing that I do, I'm just like, I smash it, smash it through the ground, like yourself, right? Mm-hmm. All in on this, and I'm going to be the best I can personally be at it. So the thing I will say to people is, and I've had comments, for the last however many years, or, what are you doing tonight and blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm sat in reading or watching this video on how to do this and how to do this color grading on this fucking Final Cut video and stuff. And people are just like, people look at you sideways because they just don't get it. Mm. They just don't get it. So if you're one of those types of people, hey, don't worry. You can come and hang with Simon and I. But when we get you, or if you're the person that's looking for the easy way out and you're looking for all the shortcuts all the time, the thing I want to encourage you to do is actually find the thing that you don't mind spending all of your time doing. Because that's then your passion. If you're basically creating something, whether it's a career or whether it's a business, something that you're trying to escape from every Friday evening, sometimes people even do it on Thursday, Friday and Saturday, then I would honestly sit back and have a real good assessment of what it is that you're doing and creating and putting your time and effort into. Whereas if you're on the other side of it, whereas, you don't mind working Monday to Sunday, I'm doing my fingers, working, it's not working, is it? It's not working, it's pleasurable. It's pleasurable. And there are problems, absolutely, that come with that process, but they're good problems. How do we get more customers? How do we tweak this marketing strategy? How do we, get better at communicating with our potential customers? Those are good problems, right? Mm-hmm. Bad problems are, I don't enjoy my life. I am ticking away the weeks to when I retire. They are bad problems. You don't want those sort of problems in your life. So that was the first thing, was the time, putting into stuff, and like the hustle, the grind. Well, I'm not really too keen on those words, if I'm honest, because if you actually look up the definition of hustle, it's to do with gangsters and taking stuff from people and lots of other horrible stuff, and grinding as well. Grinding, excuse the sniffles. Grinding is like, because when you grind things together, you remove surface, you remove actual content from each of those surfaces. And when I don't think if you're doing something that you genuinely love, that you're grinding.
Yeah, and I think like on the hustle thing as well, is I guess the modern description of it is just like busy, work, which is all well and good, but you can just hustle doing the wrong shit. Yes. So you've got to know if you're going to hustle, if that's the right word, 12 to 14 hours a day, make sure you're not doing inane crap that doesn't make any difference whatsoever. You've got to focus in on the right things and then do that. Because if you're just going to work 12 to 14 hour days on stuff that's actually meaningless for your business, you might as well work 4 hours a day. There's no point in hustling. So the hustle's got to be beneficial.
Absolutely. Like most people, like on the career side of things, and I know we've talked about this before, was in an 8 to 9 hour standard work day, they will probably do 30 to 45 minutes of actual work. The rest of the time is spent looking busy, like you're working. And I know you've got experience of that, and you can tell everyone about that, or just doing menial tasks that actually don't contribute anything to the grand machine. So yeah, definitely. And again, people do this inside their own businesses, which is really sad. They set out with great intentions, but then when they actually arrive at the precipice of, hey, I've now got my own thing, then they spend all of the time in the world not doing anything or contributing to the things that are actually what is affectionately I like to call, moving the needle. It just doesn't move the needle in the business, which when you first start out needs to be acquiring customers. For those that are listening and just starting out, once you've got customers, and you're maybe over that first year or two, a little hurdle of being in business, then it's like, hey, how do we keep these customers, and how do we better acquire more customers, with a smoother, and with as little hustle and grind and human input as possible, but still make it feel like they're having a great experience at the same time. So let's, I want you to share with everybody, just one thing that's really led into the growth of Iron Paradise Fitness over the last sort of 6 to 12 months. One strategy, just one thing that people could do, today that's free, that maybe just involves their time every day. What would you say to to people listening?
Yeah, so I'd say I would go down a content route. So again, I would be putting out content that has the feeling behind it is offering value to that person. And I always think about my content as having the person sat in front of me. So whether that is creating a graphic, recording a podcast, or writing an email, I imagine I'm having a conversation with someone sat in front of me, and one person. So just sitting there talking to one person. So I would go out there and create some form of content that delivers a massive amount of value, and do it in a way that makes someone feel like you're really speaking to them. And that makes a huge amount of difference, because I have emails come back from emails I send out that say, this just came at the right time. You must be inside my head and really know what's going on. And that's because you've taken the time to understand, okay, what is it that makes my audience tick, and how can I help them the most? And if you just give value all the time and do that without the subtext or preconception that I'm doing this so that then I can get a sale, if you remove that and just say, I just want to help this person, so I'm going to do that. And if you do that consistently enough, day after day, then you will eventually have paying clients.
Great. So that's long game stuff, which I love. And this very much plays in the hands of what I love to teach and coach, which is, treating your business, whether you're online or offline, as an actual shop. So when you imagine if you're like purely 100% online, just like Simon is, right? Imagine every day you're opening the shutters on your shop, and you're presenting the front of your shop, you're cleaning your windows, and you're making it all sexy so people want to come in. Okay, whatever footfall you've got, people come in and they ask you questions about the things that are on your shelves. Okay, so you're giving them value, you're giving them the advice that they've come in for. Perhaps today they don't buy anything off the shelf, but you can take it down off the shelf, let them have a look at it, have a nice conversation with them, serve them in your shop with a smile on your face. Right? This is what Sam's talking about, right? Valuable content. That's all this is. Okay, so when you're online, you don't have a brick and mortar existence. So what's in place of that is turning up every day and talking to people and having stuff there that they can take down off the shelf, have a look at, experience your personality, listen to your voice, watch the facial expressions on your face, on your YouTube videos, or whatever it is that you do. See how passionate you actually are about the stuff that you're selling into the world, to solve somebody's problems. That's it. That's how you've got to see it. So I love that, dude. I love that.
Yeah, and I think just to go one step further than that as well, is that I decided a long time ago that I would treat social media like an in-person conversation. So when anyone follows me on Instagram, let's pick Instagram, is that I will go onto their page, send them a message, say, hey dude, thanks for the follow, really appreciate it. And if they've got something on their page that maybe catches my eye, I might say, oh yeah, cool cat pics, dude, or something like that, whatever they've got going on in their life. Or some people say,
that's pussy.
Or maybe you've said like that they've lost X amount of weight or whatever. Just that little personal touch. So I do that with everybody. Now, granted, sometimes a few might slip through the net. So I do that. Every time someone comments on a picture, I'll reply to their comment, even if just say thanks or whatever. And over a period of time, you get to know those people. You get to know those people that keep popping up on your account all the time. And then you can, start to converse with them. But the reason why I do that is that if someone came up to you in the street and said, tapped you on the shoulder and said, "Hey man, how's it going?" You wouldn't ignore them. You would turn around.
I fucking hate this about social media sometimes.
Unless you're a complete arsehole, you wouldn't in the street just turn around and walk the other way, which is like someone saying follow, because they like what they've seen. They've liked something on your page, or they've heard something about you, or someone's recommended them to you, or something like that. And they've took their time out of their day to come and hit a follow button or like a post or something like that. So I think the least you can do is say, "Hey man, cool, thanks." And then there's no intent to say, right, if he replies, then I'll send this message, then I'll send this one, and then I'll say, "Do you want to buy this shit, man?" It's like, no, you're just doing it because that's like the social part of the social media. So that's what I try and do with all of my social media, is to treat it like they're an individual who's come into my world just because they want to be there. They want to sort of shoot the shit.
Love it. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I hate that. So if you're adding me as a friend, right, on Facebook, I get this all the time, right? People add me as a friend, and then I do the little wave thing, and then they don't wave back. Then I'll message them a couple of days later, and I'll be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And they read it, and they don't fucking reply. I'm like, "What are you doing? Why have you added me? I don't understand your little," even if it's some shitty strategy that you've learned from your guru to grow your Facebook out, the best thing you could do is reply and just have a normal conversation with me. I hate it. I'll always take the time to if I add people, I'll always take the time. Here's a little, little tactic, little strategy for you if you want to see it as that, or if you just want to see it as, obviously I'm the communication guy, I'm the connection guy. That's what, I coach and what I teach. I always send a little video, a little voice note, right? And say hello. And, I say that person's name and stuff. It's so important in a world where, social media was actually based on the grounds of this to be social. But then we've lost that as it's grown and it's got bigger, and basically people have used it as a tool to just make money from other people. Yeah, and there's all these these bot things that will add friends on your behalf and things like that. But what I've started to do is right? Yeah. See, a bot will just cycle through and add people to your account. Buzzword, bots. Who wants a bot making? Oh, everyone wants a bot. But then, so if you take the time to reply to someone, so for example, let's use fitness, because a lot of PTs in the online will have a bot and they'll just add. So if I reply to that PT and say, "Hey man, thanks for the follow, really appreciate it," boom, done. He won't reply because his bot's done it for him. Then what will happen is he will unfollow me. His bot will do that for him, because his bot will see that I didn't follow him back, then he'll unfollow me. Then 2 months later, he'll refollow me, because that's what his bot does. So then he pops into my list, I see it, click on it, say, now I can see that I've already spoken to you and said, "Hey man, thanks for the follow." So then I go in and say, "Hey man, thanks for the refollow," or something like that, or something a bit more sarcastic, like maybe you should look at not using a bot or something like that. And either they'll unfollow me again, or they'll say, "Oh yeah, man, it's so difficult to try and grow your following. I'm so busy," and all this sort of stuff. And you got the wrong tactic, my friend. If your tactic in social media is, I'm going to follow as many people so that I get thousands. So I follow thousands of people. They all follow back, so I get thousands of people. Then I'll unfollow them, so it looks like I've got a small amount. If that's your tactic, then you're in the wrong game, my friend. Yeah, it also hurts my heart. In this scenario, never has the phrase quality over quantity, rung true. Quality of connection and conversation. Doesn't matter how many followers you got. Simon highlighted, before I could even ask, how many followers have you got? 2,000. And this is paying for Simon's lifestyle right now. Let's say less than 2,000 followers.
So I guess the business was sustainable on less than 2,000. It's now over 2,000.
But these 2,000 are like a hardcore following.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So it's not like a bot or anything. Simon has literally, these hours that we're talking about, part of that is, he goes out and has conversations. He is actually in, the DM, the direct message, talking to people that are liking his stuff and commenting and, asking for the value and downloading his free stuff. Right.
Yeah. And like if you just message someone out of the blue, or one of the things that I do, maybe I should do it more frequently, I do it on an infrequent basis, is I'll just send a random video to someone. Say, hey, Simon, I'm Paradise Fitness, how you doing? Cool, thanks, whatever. Hope you have a good Friday, hope you have a good weekend. People just lose their fucking minds that someone's took the time out of their day to go and just say something nice to them. And the more that you do, and then if you were to think about that as, if you want tactics, it's a bad word to use, but if you're the only one going out there and sending specific videos to individuals, when that person 6 months down the line is thinking about coaching, you're going to be on the radar, if not right at the freaking center of that radar, because he was the only guy that's ever spoken to me or just sent me a random message and didn't try and sell me something straight away. Yeah. And so like there's so many things that you can do with your social media that generate brand, generate interest in your business that have nothing to do with a hard sell. And as you will probably attest to, is the more you do that connection, communication up front, when the person actually does end up talking to you about coaching, it's a very less intense, difficult process to get them to become a client. Yeah. Whereas absolutely. I think if you got the whole shift the other way around and you're saying, all right, come buy shit, then you've really got to sell them when you get them on the phone. And that's hard and it's stressful.
For everybody, for you as the business owner or the person doing the sales portion, and for the client as well, because you have to get someone so far looking over the edge of the cliff in that situation. You're almost threatening them. You're almost like, if you don't buy this, your life's going to be shit forever. That's the level of intensity that you have to take into that like hard, closing scenario. So like I'll mention this out loud. I know you know this, but my foundations and my historic, way in learning about business and how to, communicate with people was, working for the family business. And I just reveled I was just excited to open the shop every day. When I left school, I was only 15 years old and I went to work for my parents. We opened up a new shop in a new town and I managed that shop with people underneath me. And I just loved being there and just answering people's questions and just being with them and just talking, and sharing my knowledge and just like leveling their knowledge up by teaching them. There was never that expectation of, hey, I'm going to corner you and make you buy something today, because also, we're in a community where there was only a limited population, right? So could we have used that tactic? Yeah. Would we have lasted as long in business? No, because people would have been scared to come in the shop and talk to us, because we would have been that shop that, you get cornered and they make you buy something every time you fucking go in. Instead, we were known as the business where you could go in for any piece of advice at any point in time, you know, whether it's where we just opened the minute after or whether it was a minute before we were closing. You know, we'd take you into the back and show you how we were fixing the computers. We'd show you how the printers worked. We'd explain about how the inks, you know, were laying on the paper, where the papers were, you know, the origin of the paper was coming from and stuff. You know, we were just passionate about what we did. And that's what lent and played so well into the business and its success, is because we were all just warm-hearted, conversational Yorkshire people. You know, that we just knew in our hearts, if we just connected with people properly, learned about them, what the problems were, and communicated, you know, the best we could on that particular day and that particular point in time, that people would just naturally gravitate towards us anyway, right? So that isn't just something you can use brick and mortar. That's something that you can use anywhere in life, in relationships, in business, everything. So, you know, reciprocity, that's how it works. You know, it comes full turn. So there you go. There's hot tips and strategies and tactics from Rich and Si. Let's talk about. I want to ask you a question about what you want to be known for, right? And this is again, I guess, quite a masculine question, but when you leave Earth, depressing.
For everyone.
For everyone, exactly. Not just for Simon right now, but for everyone. The world would be a very different place. What do you actually want to be known for, and why is that important to you?
I guess I have this goal in mind, is that I want to directly and indirectly help 1 million people achieve their health and fitness goals. That's what I want to achieve. And I've got many ideas about how I can do that and how I can make that happen. So that's kind of like what I would want to be known for, is making a difference to a huge amount of people and helping them to achieve their goals. Because I think that for me, there's a lot of complexity or perceived complexity about how to actually be successful in terms of achieving a health and fitness goal. And I would like to basically strip that all away and make it really, really simple for people. So one of the strap lines in my business is simple. So simple, honest, personal is kind of a 3-word strap line in the business. So I feel like everything I do is trying to make things simple for people. And I would eventually like to help, other coaches help their clients do the same sort of thing. Whether that be through like helping them like social media, or, you know, one of the big things being like I think people don't have their own voice attached to their social media. It's very much a generic thing, rather than, you know, this is me on a page. Whereas I think if you landed on my social media, have never heard of me, so imagine there's 1 million people listening to this podcast, watching this video, they've never heard of me. If you landed on my social media page, within probably reading 3 posts, maybe, you get a feel for my personality and my voice and how I am as a person. Listen to a couple of podcasts, you'll get that straight away. Whereas I think that a lot of people don't have their own voice. They just say, oh, okay, I'm really nervous about putting a piece of content out because some other PT is going to rip it to shit. So all I'm going to do is put a very vanilla post out that just says, this research study in, 2014 said this, and this said that, and it's just
drink 2 liters of water. It's very good for you and for your skin.
Yeah, it's just dry as fuck.
Dry. Funnily enough, talking about 2 liters of water, it's dry and it's boring.
Exactly. So I think people lack their own voice. Yeah, and I, at some point further down the line, I would like to help other people, help other coaches, online coaches, wherever, do that through their social media or whatever it may be. So for me, it's about that, helping that 1 million people. So directly, it might be just through my own coaching clients, it might be through my content, it might be podcasts, or if I ever wrote a book or something like that, who knows? And then indirectly, it would be through okay, I can help this coach help more people by helping get his reach bigger by doing X, Y, Z. So there's kind of like two sort of strands where I see things going for me. And, I guess like in a sort of like emotional, mushy kind of way is that if I ever have kids and grandkids, because at the moment I literally do nothing else but work and work out. So the kids thing is a really burner.
Love. So many women that are watching, you ain't got shit chance. You ain't gonna put a baby in.
So I'd love for like grandkids to like look back and think, shit, he did a lot. He did all this sort of stuff. He did, whether it was podcasts, social media, he helped loads of people. Maybe I wrote a book. I don't know. Maybe I'm sowing a seed in my own head to go write a book. I don't know. But then he did all of this sort of stuff.
Write a book.
And then he went and did all this sort of stuff, whether it was maybe a public speaking or something like that. He did all this. I'd love to have be able to sort of tell those stories to grandkids and things like that. So for me,
you're old Grandpops Mitchell, and you're talking to grandkids, and they've got their I like that. I like that. Exactly. A man needs to leave a legacy. That's very important.
Exactly.
My eyes, very important. Awesome. Okay, so let's. I'm going to take you through the quick fire round. So I've got 10 questions. I want you to answer these nice and quick. Don't put too much thought into it. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah. I think
Sound the gong. Sound the gong. All right. Quick fire question number 1. Favorite swear word?
Fuck.
Quick fire question number 2. What's your biggest turn on?
Intelligence and female lawyers.
I'm going to have some fucking perverts answering those questions.
That was because I was obsessed with being a lawyer when I was a kid, and I used to watch like Ally McBeal a lot.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was like soft porn. Yeah. For a young man, the Ally McBeal stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Like Sex in the City as well. That was like odd stuff. Quick fire question number 3. What sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise do I love? I guess something gym related. That sound of like freaking metal on metal in the gym with you crack a plate onto the
very Schwarzenegger. Yeah, very Schwarzenegger. Love it.
Yeah. And harder you smack it, the heavier it is.
Absolutely. Even if it's just the quarters, quarter weights. Yeah. Everywhere.
Heavier.
If you're a gym bunny, you've definitely seen that scene on all the Schwarzenegger documentaries. Quick fire question number 4. What is the last meal you would eat before you die?
Steak.
Quick fire question number 5. What is your favorite perfume / cologne that you love to smell on others?
I don't like perfume or cologne, so au naturel for me.
Nice. See, I'm a massive snob when it comes to smells. So like we've got some good contrast there. I'll make sure I won't put my best smelly on for you next time we meet. He's disgusting. Gets away from me. Quick fire question number 6. What is the last gift you bought someone?
Vouchers.
Such a boy.
Literally, last it was like last Christmas. It was just be every single person except for my nan got a voucher. My nan got a plant.
Awesome. Yeah, it's such a cop out there, vouchers. Yeah, it's such a cop out. So we need to up your game on that. Quick fire question number 7. Are you an early riser or are you a night owl?
Early riser, 5 a.m.
Boom, 5 a.m. Proper Jocko Willink style. Love it. Well, it's 4:30, so you maybe get that extra half an hour in, and then you're like Navy SEAL standard. Quick fire question number 8. This is a make or break for our friendship. Tea or coffee?
Coffee. I never drink tea, ever.
Ever drink tea. Good stuff. That's good. We can remain friends. I'm also a coffee drinker for those that are out there. If you're looking to buy me a gift, a nice single origin bag of Ethiopian Sidamo beans would go down an absolute treat, and I'll drop my address in the description. Quick fire question number 9. favorite place in the world?
My home.
Yeah.
But I just wish that was somewhere hotter.
Right now, yeah, that's in the UK, and as I'm looking out the window, I can agree with you. Yeah, it's our little island is quite regularly not sunny and cloudy with a spot of rain here and there. So yeah, I'd agree with that one. Quick fire question number 10: have we seen your best yet?
I don't think we even got started.
Awesome, dude. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Guest. Where, just before we leave, I'd love you to just share with everyone, and we'll put this in the in the show notes and description stuff too. But where can people find you? Your social media, and give them your Instagram handle, things like that. Spit it.
Sure. So website is iamparadisefitness.com, where you can find out loads of stuff about what I do and blogs and articles and stuff like that if you're interested in that. In terms of social media, I hang out most on Instagram. That's at iron_paradise_fitness. If you follow me, I will respond to you. If you drop me a DM, I will respond to you. So you can come and view me on there.
No dick pics, please. No dick pics.
And then Facebook is just Iron Paradise Fitness. You just search for that and I will pop up and gladly drop me a message and say hi. And yeah, that's kind of the main places where you can find me.
Awesome. And can people add you on your personal profile?
Sure. Yeah. Simon Mitchell. You can find me. There's a picture of me looking, black and white picture of me looking quite hench.
Awesome. Brilliant. Awesome. So hopefully you caught all that, but also drop it in the description of the show notes too. Mr. Mitchell, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. Thank you so much for sharing so much. And, for the listeners, hopefully you took away a bunch of great stuff about Simon, and even some teaching points in there too. So thanks so much, dude.
Thank you very much, mate. Pleasure.